Well, what is going on, Bills Mafia? What is going on? It is so good. Let me just say it again. So good to have you with me here on the Overreaction Sports Podcast. Welcome. Welcome, everybody, in. Whether this podcast finds you around a cup of coffee on the drive to work or at the gym with your AirPods in, or even now live on YouTube one more time, let me just say welcome to the Overreaction Bills podcast, brought to you by the Market Dominator on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. I am your host, the voice of the Overreaction Bills podcast. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at Joe Miller Wired. And you might be asking yourself, well, who is this Market Dominator guy? Like, you always talk about him. Well, I had him on the show just a couple weeks ago. But John is a very good friend of mine, and John is a member of Bills Mafia. John is a real estate broker with Keller Williams. And what you probably may not have known if you are a first-time listener or a short-time listener of this podcast, Keller Williams is the number one real estate brokerage in the world. And John is one of the best. He's in the top 10 in Western New York. He can help you actually anywhere, but him and his team are the best. If you've got a home to sell, if you've got a home to buy, if you're looking for a home, if you're looking to change school districts, I tell you what, right now the market is crazy. The market is legit insane. I just refinanced my house. And what's funny about that whole story is, like, I refinanced it 5 months ago, and my house has gone up in value by $20,000 in just the last 4 or 5 months. Here's the thing. If you're looking to sell your house, you've got to have a guy like John on your team. You've got to have a guy like John on your side. Call John right now, 716-570-3298. That is his cell phone, his personal cell, 716-570-3298. You can also reach him on email, yourelitebroker@gmail.com, or you can tweet him. He is, like I said, he is Bills Mafia. He is on Twitter. You can tweet him. His handle is @yourelitebroker. And now that the business is done, how you guys feeling? What's new, Mafia? I'm going to tell you something. I'm in a bit of a mood. I'm just in a mood, man. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when I say, like, I'm just in a mood. I'm not up. I'm not down. I'm not great. I'm good. I don't know, man. I've just been in this mood all day long, and there's literally no reason for it. There's like no reason. It's dude. The weather in Western New York right now is incredible. Incredible. I got a sunburn right now. Granted, I'm a ginger, so it doesn't take much. My daughter McKenna was like, dude, there's a UVA like rating of 4. And I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, that's how much sun you can get in any given day. I'm like, well, what does it go to? She's like, 11. I'm like, every day is an 11 for me. I got a little bit of a sunburn. The weather is absolutely gorgeous here in Western New York. And I'm just in a mood. The weather's gorgeous. Everything is going great. I'm on a new network. You guys are with me. My listens are way up. And even if Joe Marino is sending me joke memes from sunny North Carolina about like what spring is like in Western New York, you know what, Joe? Listen, brother. You are Bills Mafia. And I don't know if you're from Buffalo or not, but I know you just moved from Ohio, and I lived in Ohio for a long time, and it ain't much different in Ohio. So let's just stop with the nonsense. But I'm just in a mood. And part of that mood for me, I think, oddly enough, is just this whole concept. This whole idea that Bills Mafia has, and it's not everybody. It's just it's a segment of you. That somehow the Buffalo Bills every single offseason need to get, quote unquote, significantly better. The reality is the Buffalo Bills, they always have a need, right? There's always a need. And we don't ever want to be in a situation ever again going forward, I would say, where like the next step is a huge step down. But Buffalo Bills fans are trapped in this idea that we have to get, quote unquote, significantly better versus just continuing to improve. The Buffalo Bills last year were one of the 4 best teams in the NFL, a game away from the Super Bowl. There's not a whole lot more that you can do, Mafia. You guys have chirped it back to me. I talked about it all of 2020. We lived in wildest dreams land. So I would pose the question to you, where do you go from wildest dreams land? Where do you go? What is the next, if we lived in 2020 and we lived in wildest dreams land, what's the next step? Where do you go from there? Like euphoria? I don't even know what to tell you. But I know enough about Bills Mafia to understand where we come from. And before I go to the next part, I just want you to know that we got Sterling Furrow from Cover One coming on the show. And Sterling is a great friend of mine. We've been boys for about a year now, and him and I connected from jump, and he's going to be on in about 8 minutes. So stick around for that. But it comes down to, for a lot of Bills Mafia, wins and losses, right? The Mafia, by and large, is made up of segments. I would call it segments, right? Some of the Mafia is like, just have a winning team, be respectable. Like, there's a lot of you that like will just pile into that stadium, and as long as the Bills are winning and we're 9-7 or 10-6 and like make the playoffs, it's great. Like let's just win some football games. It's not a big deal. And then there's a segment of the Mafia that want zero losses, right? And every single game, we've got to have 500 yards of offense and shutting out every single opponent. And if the former was unrealistic, right? That like we're never going to lose a football game. What do we call that? Like, what do we call a situation where if the former of that is like we got to win every football game, no losses, and that's unrealistic? What is the segment of the Mafia that wants zero losses, 500 yards of offense, and shutting out every single opponent? If the former was unrealistic, what do you call this? I'll be honest with you, I don't have a whole lot for you. And I'll be honest with you for a second, not that I ever lied to you, but in some respects, I get it. I'm a content creator. Every content creator would tell you that there's far more to talk about in a Bills loss than in a Bills win. Sometimes the Bills win and you're like, hey, it was great. They won. Sometimes there's a lot more meat on the bone if they lose, right? But we live in this situation. We live in this space right now in the offseason of 2021. Free agency is upon us and there's moves being made, but the Bills aren't making all the moves that we want them to make. They're basically re-signing their own guys. And the concerns are, but we didn't make the moves where I felt they needed to be better. So therefore they didn't, quote unquote, get better. Well, the wide receiver room got better. The wide receiver room got better. I'm not here to disrespect John Brown. I love John Brown. One thing I know, two things I know. John Brown does not listen to this podcast. The second thing that I know about John Brown is he's a guy that I want on my football team. John Brown is not only a great football player, but he's one of us, right? But if we're going to be honest with ourselves just for 10 seconds, Emmanuel Sanders is a better football player than John Brown. He just is. I'm not trying to dog John Brown. I'm not trying to not put respect on John Brown's name. I'm just speaking the facts. I'm telling you the truth. And we still have this kid, this Isaiah Hodgins kid that we have never even seen before. All the rage out of preseason, what there was a preseason in 2020 was like this Hodgins kid was great. We heard about Gabriel Davis and the fact that he came in and was looking already like a pro wide receiver. And he wasn't being outdone, or I should say he wasn't being not far behind him, if I should say anything, was Isaiah Hodgins. And then Isaiah Hodgins gets hurt, and then we don't see him for all of 2020. But Joe, the defensive line. Joe, the defensive line is just like how are we going to stop the Kansas City Chiefs with the defensive line? And like if we don't have like a cornerback, a CB2, a real CB2. Look, I'm with you. And there's aspects of like all of this that I'm with you. But I take a great deal of, I don't know what the word is. I have a problem with this idea, this concept that we have to get significantly better. You're talking about a football team that won 13 games last season. What does significantly better look like? What do you want? They won 15 games through the whole season. They won 2 playoff games. They made it to the AFC Championship game. They got their freaking doors blown off them. It's true, but I would challenge you to find me a content creator that would tell you that version of the Buffalo Bills that you saw against the Kansas City Chiefs was truthfully the Buffalo Bills that we saw for the majority of the season. And I would double down on that. If I was in Vegas and I had 8s, I'd split them and double down on the fact that the Buffalo Bills tried to pass a rule, or in the process of trying to pass a rule that none of their coaching staff or any of their front office people can interview before, or I should say, before the Super Bowl, which is basically the ownership of the Bills going, you know what, our guys kind of mailed it in that week, and it showed. But what about the defensive line, Joe? What about the defensive line? The defensive line isn't better. It's still kind of, it's just blah. It's just kind of blah. Look, I'm with you, right? But let's remember this. Inside of all the moves that they made, the guy that they cut, Vernon Butler, is still here. They cut Quentin Jefferson. Mario Addison is still here. Restructured deals. The greatest enigma that we had inside of a defense that underperformed in 2020 was Star Lotulelei. And I'm the guy that sat on this show and told you if Star Lotulelei makes that much of a difference, he might be the greatest defensive lineman ever to play football. We're going to find out. Star coming back is going to push Ed Oliver to his natural position. He very well could be the havoc wreaker we've been pinging or pining about this offseason. I'm the guy. I'm the guy that's like, get me a havoc wreaker. Ed Oliver might be that guy. AJ Epinesa, if he can put 20 pounds on or 25 pounds on this offseason and can get back into form. Like, the kid flashed a little bit. We don't know what's out there. The Bills definitely aren't done yet. The draft is coming. Free agency isn't over. Like I said, the wide receiver room got better. The O-line, in my opinion, the RBs, because of the O-line, got better. We're going to save that because Sturls and I are going to talk about that in about 2 minutes. The Bills added Jacob Hollister. I know a lot of you don't know who he is, but he's a nice player. Josh has familiarity with him. But as I told you, this team won 13 football games in the regular season last year. 15 total football games through the season in 2020 with the playoffs. They went to the AFC Championship game. There's really not a quote-unquote significant leap to take. We lived in a world with this football team, 7-9, 6-10, garbage football teams, 8-8, maybe once in a while if we were lucky. For 20 years, I think we had a 9-7 in there once or twice. But the reality is, we've lived 20 years as Bills fans. Some of you have never seen this team win until this last year, and all we've ever known is like, they've got to get significantly better. I want you to hear me for a second. We're at a point where right now it's more about marginal steps. Getting marginally better when you're 13-3 is acceptable as long as you're getting better. Getting marginally better when you're 7-9 is bad. It's infuriating. It's nauseating as a football fan. We've lived in that space for 20 years. I'm here to tell you we are no longer living in that space as a franchise. So I'm not asking you to bring your hopes down. I'm just asking you to reshift your focus from significantly better to marginally better. Marginally better might be all that it takes to get us over the hump. But right now, what I want to do is want to bring in my guy, my brother from another mother, Sterling Furrow. Sterling from the Cover One Podcast Network. Sterling, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing good, man. But like, I gotta ask, like, who hurt you, baby? Who hurt you tonight?
I started with I'm in a mood. Did you not hear me say that I'm in a mood?
You in a mood? You in a mood for sure.
I'm just in a mood. It's okay to be in a mood once in a while, right?
No, you're right. I'm gonna let you have that because you got fans out there thinking like, oh, it's a daddy hit mommy moment. Like it's like a little serious in the room, dog. A little serious in the room. Okay, so I'm here. I'm here to bring the fresh air, as you know.
You always do, and that's what I love about you. And do me a favor, real quick, top of the show. or start of you coming on. Let's let everybody know what you do, where you are, how to find you, what like all the good things that are Sterling Furrow. Tell us a little bit about Sterling.
All the good things. I mean, I could literally take up the whole hour if you really want me to do that.
Show over.
No, show over. My head is just filled up the room here. No, I'm at Cover One. My tag is Furrow Sterling on Twitter. You can find me there. Cover One's great. I do work there. Scouting Academy. I'm learning the game, learning the ropes. But I'm just trying to catch up to you, man. That's all. Come on, dude. I'm trying to catch up, bro. I'm just trying to catch up.
I don't even know what that means. Like there's guys that have it. Sterls, you're one of those guys. Like, I mean, it's like I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like I wish that I had the Scouting Academy stuff that you have. There's an aspect of like I just don't know what there. It's like I don't know where my brain and my emotions would go if I actually, because my fandom overcomes everything, right? And then it's like my fandom has to meet the truth. That's where I get kind of lost. I've said it 100 times. Like, I'm glad that my show airs on Mondays after the football game, because by like Wednesday, Thursday, you guys, Cover One, Greg Thompson, Bruce, all you guys got it all figured out. Know what really happened was, and then at that point in time, it's like, well, I'm done overreacting because like everything I thought and felt is wrong.
No, man. So, we it's the Hoof Podcast. We have the Hoof live on Tuesday nights, and we have our pods on Friday that pop. So like, subscribe, do what you got to do, check us out, but we're all a community. There's no pod wars here. We all good.
I think that's one of the best things about just like what you just said, the pod community. Like I don't know that content creators, we don't talk about it enough, and I don't know that the fans realize that like we're all bros, like we're all buds, like all of us respect each other, and we all get along, and we all have a lot of fun together, and like we're all in like chats, like group chats together, like which is really kind of cool. So so Tuesday nights, right? Tuesday nights is when you guys are live, and then what day and it's Friday the pod comes out. Yep. Awesome. You, Eric, Anthony Romeo, which is Chris Brown's brother.
That's right, dude. Anthony's crazy. That man's crazy.
King of the champ stamp. It's not verified, but we believe that Anthony's got a champ stamp.
If it comes out of my mouth, it's Bible. It's truth. Okay. That's all I'm going to say to that.
Right. So let's get started with this thing. So I baited everybody here with the fact that we're going to talk about some fun stuff. And as much as I said we're going to talk about the O-line and the running backs, we're actually going to start in a different spot. We're going to start with backup QB. I, like a lot of content creators, spent 2020 and a lot of so far this offseason pounding the table for an upgrade at QB2. It's not a situation of not liking Matt Barkley. And what's funny about the surprise that happened, I think it was on Thursday, that surprise, it wasn't a situation of like we don't like Matt Barkley. Like there's a lot of people that came out like, I love Matt Barkley. I want Matt Barkley on my team. I like Matt Barkley too. It's not a situation of I don't like Matt. I think Matt's he's a great dude. He's done a lot for Josh Allen. His family is great. He's a part of Bills Mafia. He loves Buffalo. But the reality is I was not confident, and clearly the Buffalo Bills weren't either, that if somehow the Buffalo Bills had Josh Allen get hurt for 6 games, that Matt Barkley was not going to win them half those games. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what was literally your first thought about hearing the Trubisky news?
I start laughing.
What? Break that down for me.
I start laughing just because it's like, it's like irony. Okay, you know how like you were in middle school, you're probably the ugly duckling, right?
I am. I'm a redhead.
Okay, and then you get to high school, college, and the girls are like, damn, like who's that? It's kind of like Mitchell Trubisky versus Josh Allen. Everybody thought, are bagging on Josh. Remember all the comparisons prior to the season because their stats were very similar, and they kind of are similar in a sense. But if you look at the film, you see Josh's far and better. Different. It doesn't even compare.
It's different.
And it's like so many people wanted to peg Trubisky as a much better quarterback than Josh Allen prior to the season, not in Bills community, but just nationally. Yeah. And so just to see the success that Josh has had and then Trubisky coming in, I'm just sipping my tea. I think you and I were talking on Twitter when it all broke down.
Right.
And I'm just laughing.
You said a comment and I was like, holy crap. Like you messaged me and I messaged you back like, did you see this? So yeah. It was crazy.
But I'm okay with it. I think Trubisky he's a good backup quarterback and nothing more than that. He doesn't.
No, right now.
Right now, I mean, he's got some work to do. He's got a lot of work to do. I don't think his situation was great either, as far as what they asked him to do, and I think he has some shortcomings. His ball placement, his footwork is really bad at times.
Yeah.
The way he processes pre-snap, post-snap is a problem. But in a backup role, barring we don't plan on Josh getting hurt, I think
right.
It's the guy that has playoff experience now, right?
Right.
And so that's better than Matt Barkley.
It's better than Matt Barkley. When that news broke, dude, I was literally in Greg Thompson GIF mode. Like, wait, what? Like, that's where I was. I was like, what just happened? Like, and then it was like, well, we got to wait to find out what the numbers are. And freaking $2.5 million. Yeah. Like, hello, for me, they upgraded that position tremendously, and I love what it does for what I would call the future of Mitchell Trubisky. Like the idea that he sees inside of himself, you know what? Whether he feels it was a toxic environment or maybe he was lending to the toxicity of that environment, or he just needs to, you know what? I just need to I can't step away from football, but I need to be in a position where I can just take a step back. I can take a deep breath. I can decompress, maybe have a glass of bourbon, and it not be like all on my shoulders and just sit and learn. And who better to learn from than a kid that has gone from widely being panned as one of the greatest busts in NFL history to being the number 3 NFL, like the quarterback in the NFL, if not the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. I think it just speaks volumes to not only his humility. I think it speaks volumes to whoever's behind the scenes in his ear, whether it's his agent or his dad and mom or whoever it is, whoever's close to Mitch, going, you know what? This is a good fit for you. And then there's obviously all the conspiracy stuff too that talks about like, well, when Dable ends up getting a head coaching job, does he take Mitch with him? Which is possible. It'll be interesting. I guess my question for you at this point was, and we've talked about Barkley a little bit. Do you think that Barkley was a good fit in this offense? Before you answer that, I would preface it with this. We as Bills Mafia have been under the assumption that we needed like some sort of a mobile, athletic, running quarterback to be the to be the QB2, because that's what Josh was in 18, kind of was in 19, and he shows a little bit of it in 20. I disagree. In 2020, Josh was a pocket passer. Do you think Barkley was a good fit? So what is the problem with Matt Barkley from what you have seen?
So I think is Matt Barkley. So the question is Matt Barkley, was he a good fit for the offense? And I would say on paper, no, not on paper. Not when you look at today's NFL quarterbacks, he's not somebody that you want as your starter.
Right.
He's more of a traditional, feet in the mud. You can't move, He's a statue back there, right?
Joey Bosa, that one play that he goes in for. Was it Bosa that hit him in the face? Like,
yeah. He ain't want no smoke after that.
Dude, like he goes in for one play, takes the snap, the offensive line parts like the Red Sea. Bosa comes through and just like pummels him. And I'm like, dude, what did you say to like that dude, like your offensive line's moms? Like, did you like offend their parents or something? Like, because they just were like, here you go, you can have him.
Hey. When you chasing around Josh Allen, you're pissed. And then you see Matt Barkley in there looking like a turkey, looking like a little snack. I'm eating that up.
And he did.
That's like a bowl of peanut M&Ms for me, buddy. I'm tearing that up. No chance. So of course.
Oh, that's amazing.
Of course. But I think this is where people don't really give Matt Barkley enough credit. I think Dable really appreciated what he had between the ears, that he was able to comprehend this offense. And it was great that he's the polar opposite of Josh Allen,
right?
Because he learned how to kind of tone it down a little bit, how to play within the structure of the offense,
good,
how to make it work for him, and then you add that coupled with Josh Allen's athletic ability and his work off script led to a tremendous season. So I do attribute some of Josh's success to Matt Barkley. So it was a brilliant move by Dable and Bean to bring Matt Barkley in, from a camaraderie and just the person that he and his wife and his family, what they bring to the table. So from a schematic point of view, no, not really. But he brought so much more to Josh Allen. He helped Josh Allen put the tools in the belt to not be so erratic and freakishly crazy in certain times, because he's the polar opposite. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it. So now I will tell you this though. You're going to be hard pressed to find a backup quarterback that throws Charmin to wide receivers. His balls are so catchable. I can go out there and catch those balls, like the one that Gabe Davis against the Dolphins. I mean, it was just like you could just catch it like Charmin, baby, like that 3-ply. You know what I'm saying? It's just so soft.
The problem is, and this is my issue, all of 2020, because this season is unfolding for us, and I talked about it at the top of the show, like wildest dreamlands, and like Overreaction Podcast fans are familiar with that phrase, and like I said, they chirp it back to me. But the thought of Josh Allen getting hurt kept me up at night. It was like I love you, Matt, but no. Like, is that where you live too? Did you live in that same space, or were you confident that he could do what he needed to do?
No, I learned something from a great, sensible TV show and movie called I don't know. You might have heard of it. What is the name of it? See, now it just left my mind. Team America.
Oh,
when he's like, I will never die. Josh Allen will never get hurt. So I don't even care. He will never get hurt. So you could bring anybody in as a backup quarterback. They're never going to see the field unless it's mop-up duty. Josh Allen will never get hurt. And so the fact that you say that, you better find wood wherever you are, knock on that, because our guy can't get hurt. We're not even putting that in the universe today. He will not get hurt.
Well, in that theme, we know this is, and we talked about a second ago, a reset year for Mitchell Trubisky. But if he has to play, from what you've seen on film, what does he bring to the table for this offense? Is he a better fit, I guess, is what we want to know.
Yeah, he's a better fit. I think he has running ability. You know, he can make plays off script. He throws a catchable ball. He's got a decent arm. He's got playoff experience. I think he's battle tested. You know, a lot of adversity coming. I mean, this is a guy that only played we have 1 year of film on him really in college, right? He only had a limited amount of starts. And I think he does a decent job with eye movement, you know?
Yeah.
Those are the things that I can tangibly see from Mitchell Trubisky. Sorry.
No worries. So I guess the question is can he win? So if he has to go in for 4 games, can he win half of them?
Yeah. I think he can, and let me tell you why. Now, if you were to, if you had Mitchell Trubisky, Josh Allen's first year, no, he can't do that. But if you have weapons around him,
they got weapons.
Yeah, so
weapons.
He can flourish in this offense because he does it. All he has to do is play point guard. I don't need you to be special. I just need you to get the ball out quickly into who it's supposed to be, make the right reads, right checks, and I'm good. He can get you a win or two.
Yeah, there's definitely something in the way that he plays football that looks different. There's something about, the Nick Mullins of the world, right? Where it's like Nick Mullins, like completion percentage is just under Josh Allen's, and Nick Mullins, like when he's blitzed, he's right there with Josh Allen. Nick Mullins is not Josh Allen. I don't care what this. I said this all of 2019. Like stats only matter until they don't. And there's a point with like that stuff doesn't matter anymore. And like Mitchell Trubisky just passes an eye test for me where it kind of matters, right? So there's just he has a little bit of Josh Allen in him. He's not Josh Allen,
right? But
he's got a little bit of that. Like he knows when to go if he has to run. Like you said, he can pull people with his eyes. There is some anticipation. He's willing to put the ball out there where it needs to be to give his wide receiver a chance. I like the signing. I was floored. I was like I said, I was beyond floored when it happened. But for me, it was Brandon Beane just showing. I mean, it prompted the Mike Greenberg tweet, which was that or whatever he said. I don't know if it was a tweet, but it came out in a tweet that the Bills are just like a different franchise. Like there's 31 NFL football front offices, and then there's the Buffalo Bills. He didn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing. He was just talking about how much better the Buffalo Bills are just run than anybody else. So.
Did you have a heart attack when you hear stuff like that? Because, dude, you remember this, Joe? Like when we were just a laughing stock. Like if it was dysfunctional, the Bills were doing it. Like if it was stupid, we were doing it. Like it's crazy to hear and to just be like, yeah, like, yo, we're smart. Like we own that. Right. We ain't doing nothing stupid today.
That's right.
I like that. I like peace of mind.
The same old Bills.
Yeah, dude.
Imagine getting through a season without one time saying. Same old Bills, right?
Man, it was rough.
2021 might be that season. We had that moment against the Rams where it was like same old, and then I guess the Hail Murray, right, was the same old Bills moment. And then there's
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's harsh. That's harsh. But he's right. You know, people, hey, we do get into that. We got PTSD, man. Bills fans, we got PTSD. And the sooner you realize that you can get help.
I'm in a mood. But that's what I'm talking about, that PTSD, that the Bills got to get significantly better. Where the F do you go from here? They were 13-3. They won 15 football games. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They have the best wide receiver in the NFL. Where do you go?
I know. And it's so nice. And it's so nice. It's so nice. You know what's funny, though? We still treat free agency and the prospect and ideas of trades as if we were a 3-13 team.
Right.
Because we want everybody.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. People are legit. There's members of Bills Mafia that are legit pissed off right now because the Bills have not gone out and gotten quote unquote significantly better. And it's like, I don't even know what that means. We're at the point where it's marginally better. You don't want to get worse. You need to keep getting better. And you just hope that marginally better is going to get you over that. The Bills are not looking backwards at the Patriots. They're not looking backwards at the Miami Dolphins. They're looking forward. They're looking at the Chiefs and the Bucks right now. They're thinking Super Bowl or bust. Right?
Yeah. And I think you got to look at it too. I think the Mafia does have a point though about wanting to be exponentially better because we weren't exponentially better enough to beat the Chiefs. And I think there are some things that, we'll talk about it later in the show, but there are things that the Bills can do. I think that can give them an advantage or another dimension to their offense, to their team. So, and then you have the people who are, meticulous roster builders, in the Bills community, right? That want to take it step by step and in progression and, chart it out. And there's a place for them too. You and me, we tend to be on the, no risk it, no biscuit, baby. I want everybody. Can you play? Come on. I got a spot for you. That's just how I am. So
the problem is with the COVID cap situation, there's I just don't know what people expect. What I love, I've been pounding the table for Havoc Reeker. I wanted JJ Watt. The dude, I just want to win football games, goes to the Arizona Cardinals. You went to the number 4 team in the NFC West. You clearly are not interested in winning football games. That is not what just happened here. I want a Havoc Reeker. However, inside of the world that we live in, it's limited, right? I mean, there's an aspect of you know what? This might be the year that I hold him, right? Like I'm returning 21 of 22 starters. This might be the year that it's I'm going to keep the hand that I got.
Yeah. So that JJ Watt thing, I would have been okay with having JJ Watt. It's just I play football. I just don't want you to talk. It's like having that hot girlfriend. Baby, just don't say nothing. Don't just do your thing. Wear that dress. Don't say a word. We're good on that. That's JJ Watt. Ain't nobody trying to hear about, I come in here and I fight my ass off bro, save it. You mean to tell me these cats back here ain't trying? Miss me with all that, bro. Now, listen, maybe the front office didn't try, but them dudes that are on that field,
they try.
They try, man. Those guys try. They're competitors, man. They try. So it is what it is.
I think that the shade that he was throwing was more towards the coaching staff and stuff like that and ownership than it was necessarily against his other teammates.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No?
You might want to check your sources, dog.
I have no sources.
You got it like that. Check your sources. Ask about old JJ. They'll tell you about old JJ.
There's just something to be said for line, and we are totally in I don't know where we are right now, but there's just something about Jerry Hughes, Star Latulele, who's gonna command a double team, JJ Watt, and then whoever you put on the outside, or Ed Oliver and JJ Watt. There's just there's only so many fat guys up front, right? I mean, to me, it's and if you're telling me that JJ Watt, I don't know why the hell we're talking about this. If you're telling me that JJ Watt played 95% of the snaps in Houston, he's going to come to Buffalo and play 65%. So he's going to be way more rested. Oh, well, things that
didn't work out.
JJ, you may, when I repost this show, retweet it, tag JJ Watt and say you made a mistake, JJ. All Bills Mafia should do that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to the Overreaction Podcast on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. It's good to have you. I'm sitting here with my guy, Sterling Furrow from the Cover One Network, and we're going to transition now to what is a widely debated topic. And there's camps, right? There's camps inside of this whole topic as it pertains to the offensive line versus the running backs versus the scheme. And we're going to lean into you a little bit, and we're going to try to bring some knowledge to Bills Mafia and the people that are in the chat and the people that are going to listen to this podcast afterwards, because the reality is most fans are like me. I know a little bit. Like, I know enough to be wrong when it comes to this type of stuff. But the Buffalo Bills ran a pinch and pull like offensive scheme in 2019. And we saw Devin Singletary be successful, and literally Frank Gore, who I believe ran the wide zone most of his career, not be successful in that scheme. 2020, Brian Dable goes to the wide zone, which is what, ironically enough, Gore was actually successful with most of his career. Granted, he's now older, or was older in 2019. And every single part of the offensive team, is from a run game standpoint, struggled. We talk about it all the time. I say it all the time. I talk with John Fina. I said, it's got to be the running backs, it's got to be the offensive line, or it's got to be the scheme. What is it? He said it was the scheme. It wasn't a problem with the offensive linemen. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss weren't the problem. It was the scheme. What is the difference? Tell the listeners what the difference is between a pinch and pull, because that's probably not something we hear wide zone all the time. Like, ever since Terrell Davis and the Denver Broncos went to the Super Bowl and won, it was like, whoa, wide zone, wide zone, wide zone. But I don't know the Bills Mafia knows what that means. What's it? And I know that a lot of us have never heard of pinch and pull. Give me basics. Pinch and pull versus wide zone.
First of all, I don't even know what it means. Okay. But no, your pin and pull. So your foundation is based on rules and principles set up, and you're watching the front seven. Your linemen have to communicate pre-snap what's going on, the assignments and stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So basically, to layman's terms, it's covered or uncovered. So, if you're a lineman, are you covered? Is someone right in front of you? Or right. If not, then what are you going to do? Right. So that usually the uncovered lineman typically is the one that pulls. Right. Right. And then what happens is the down blocks, right, for the covered lineman or the pulling lineman, creates easier leverage blocks. Gotcha. Right. So that's kind of the whole pin and pull concept, which they ran great in 2019. And Mitch Morris is like, you want to talk about a great pin and pull offensive lineman center? Mitch Morris is that guy. I was told Mitch Morris sucks, so that's not true. Who said that?
No, I'm not saying who.
Hey, Mitch Morris, he don't suck. He don't suck.
He don't suck.
He definitely does not suck. And yeah. I think the pin and pull, I think it's easier to comprehend for offensive linemen. And you don't have. I think you can do pin and pull in chaos, right? So you don't have to have a lot of cohesion versus other offensive line blocking schemes. You can get out there and just do your thing. Right. If you got a great communicator up front, you can play a little bit faster than having to think the man's game. So
for sure.
And then your inside out zone,
wide zone. Yep.
Yeah, so inside outside zone. So if you really want to learn about this, go back and watch the Colts with Peyton Manning, how they were able to do that. And Howard Mudd was the freaking OG and how he put this running game together. I mean, you think of guys like Edgerrin James, you had Joseph Adai. These are guys that could get to the outside, get to the perimeter. And it's based off of cutback lanes. So like the inside zone runs, it's based off of vertical displacement, and then your outside zone runs is like horizontal displacement. So the idea is to stretch the field. You want to stretch the entire field of the width of the field in the defense. Does that make sense? You want to create cutback lanes for your running backs. And so I think, go ahead.
I was just saying, so the running back runs to the right or the left until he sees the hole and then just darts. So I'm gonna drift and be patient, right, left, right, and then as soon as the hole opens, it's a Mostert issue, right, from San Francisco. And as soon as the hole opens, bang, I'm through it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so try to put yourself in Brian Dable's shoes, right? He is a guy, he is a thinking man when it comes to being an offensive coordinator. He's always coming up with something different, kind of like Andy Reid. So he's going to go out and he's going to try certain things. Obviously, and also, I don't think he knew how much of an improvement, how much of a jump Josh Allen would make. So when you run inside outside zone, right, it gives you, it creates cutback lanes, but it also gives you stuff like, the bootlegs, the speed sweeps that you see Isaiah McKenzie do, the flash and all those kind of things, right? And it predicates and works off of play action. So I think, he's like, well, maybe if we do something like this, maybe it'll help Josh out a little bit more, kind of process and read defenses and so forth, because in 2019, he struggled kind of knowing what the defense was coming to him. And I think that, I don't think anybody really. Now, people can come out there and say, "Oh yeah, I saw Josh Allen do this," but not really. I mean, what he did, the jump that he made, not many people can actually honestly say they can, hope it, but actually have like concrete evidence as to why he was going to be better. You're not going to find that many people be able to do that. And so I think he wanted to kind of give it another dimension, another layer, because at times our running game was we knew when the Bills were running. If you saw Frank Gore back there, you knew, okay, right? You knew what was happening. And so Devin Singletary's in there, light boxes.
Right.
He ran it, he was almost 5 yards a carry or something like that.
5.2. 5.4. I thought it was 3 or 4.
5.2 yards a carry, but he was going up against light boxes, So they were trying to dare Josh Allen to beat him, throw guys open, beat guys one-on-one. And that was the tale of 2019. So if I am Brian Dable, I go back to the pin and pull. I go back to it. I go back to it.
No, for sure. And obviously, they brought the offensive line back. And as much as they brought the offensive line back, we're to assume that the Bills are going to revert to that 2019 scheme. And what's interesting about it is like none of these 5 guys have played together. So when we talk about getting, again, and I know we don't like the word marginally, but we have to understand what the floor is. The floor is 13-3 AFC Championship game, right? So that's where we're getting marginally better from. We're not staying the same. We're not, falling off. We're getting marginally better from 13-3 AFC Championship game. So if you bring these guys back, like this is one of those situations. If you bring these 5 guys back, they've never played together. But I'll be honest with you, all of them are pretty solid. I have not been a huge Cody Ford fan. I just haven't. I don't like him at right tackle. He struggled a little bit and got hurt early at guard and tried to battle through it and couldn't, and they shut him down, which was great. And then obviously we saw Brian Winters, a lot of Brian Winters, which I don't understand outside of maybe they felt he was a better fit because Quentin Spain was a pinch pull guy, yada, yada. We don't have to go down that. I know you're laughing, but we don't have to go down that road as far as that goes. But the reality is the guys that they brought back and the guys that they're getting ready to roll with, it seems like are pinch and pull guys. And if they're going to go that direction, there's something to be said that maybe they can roll with Singletary and Moss, right? I mean, can they roll with these 2 guys?
You can, but do I think you'll get the most out of your run game with those guys? No. I think one of them, in my opinion, one of them has to go.
One of them has to go.
Now, you can keep 3. You can keep bringing a rookie. It depends on who you bring in. Right. And we'll get to that in a minute. But
we're getting to that.
So
that's what they want to hear.
That's what they want to hear. So I think of it like this. I think you have, Deion Dawkins, right? Mitch Morris, Darrell Williams. All 3 of these guys can get to the second level, right?
Right.
So the pin and pull actually works phenomenally with the cornerstone of those 3. Now, if we're going off of potential, I think Cody Ford over Ike Boettger probably has more he's a bigger, more forceful, longer, right? I think he can get out in space a little more. Now, he's not great in terms of putting him on. If you put Cody Ford at right tackle, he's going to get smoked. His feet don't move that fast. Right. But if you get him going in one direction, I think he could be an adequate left guard, right? Over Ike Boettger.
Well, even I mean, Eric from Cover One, the guy that founded Cover One, put the thing out on Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is better in the pinch and pull. He put film out there that Dawson was excelling in pinch and pull as a rookie.
Yeah, Dawson Knox in a pinch and pull situation is like a heat-seeking missile. He comes and dude comes off and he's ready to destroy.
Right.
And it may not be he may not have all of his tools, right? It may not be pretty, but if he gets his hands on you, he's gonna finish the block. Right. Now it's just consistency. Can he master, some of the techniques, right?
Right.
If he could do that, along with Jacob Hollister, who is a very underrated skill set. I think he gives you a good baseline of he's not great at anything, but he gives you a good baseline of average tools, good tools that you can work with as a tight end.
Right. There's familiarity there that is you can't speak enough about between him and Josh Allen. You grow up throwing the baseball or throwing the football with your buddy, and then you go and you'd switch schools or something like that, and then you come back to the neighborhood and you're back to throwing the football with your buddy, and it's oh, we do have chemistry. Like there's something there that we probably are like not even ready to see or that we're not prepared for. Like, and not to mention the fact that he's had some decent football games.
Yeah.
Like in the NFL, one of them against us. Like he's a massive dude. Like he can play football. They're going to have to address tight end, but that's another conversation for another day. Go ahead.
So if Jacob Hollister played college basketball, he would go to Butler. Like all the cats at Butler, they are fundamentally sound.
Right,
like these dudes, they ain't nothing special in the layup line. You know, they ain't dunking. You know, they're just that's his skill set. He's just very baseline.
Yeah, he's steady. Is nothing wrong with being steady. If anything, at the tight end position, Lee Smith was steady. Like there's something to be said for being steady, and steady is kind of what we need. But ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Overreaction Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Miller, the voice of the Overreaction Podcast. The Overreaction Podcast is brought to you by the Market Dominator, and it is on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. I'm sitting here with my guy, Sterling, from the Cover One Network, the Hoof Podcast, if you will. And we are going to transition now because you kind of segued it, but I have to like get the little things in there beforehand to running backs, right? We want to talk. All of Bill's Mafia is talking running backs. And last week on the Hump Day Hotline, and if you're not watching the Hump Day Hotline, you need to tune in at 9:00 on Wednesdays because Spence and I have a great time. And Bruce was in there, and like Bruce was trying to take over the show from the comment section. That's a lie. He wasn't doing that, but he was like getting his digs in about, just running back. And like, dude, I'm with you. Like you and I were talking, and I even referenced you. It was like the Bills have brought back the offensive line. Let's go get a weapon. Yes, let's go get a weapon, right? Like, let's do that. Like, but as far as running backs go, there's something to be said for draft capital, right? There's something to be said for like going first round on a running back. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of going first round on a running back, generally speaking, unless maybe it's the best player available. I don't know. And there's Javonte Williams that's out there, right? And that's Bruce feels that that's the best guy available. Obviously, Najee Harris is out there, and who knows if he's going to last. And then obviously ETN is out there. So I guess we'll start there. So I'm going to get off my notes. Which one of those three guys you like the best?
Travis Etienne.
Really nice. So he is a weapon. Guy. That's a weapon.
He is a weapon. That guy he's a weapon. And he's, now people make fun of me for this and because, player comps, player comps aren't sexy in the scouting community. But if I had to go on one, he's Alvin Kamara. That's his ceiling is Alvin Kamara.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, there is something to be said for here's what I feel about Najee Harris and Javonte Williams. If you put Javonte Williams at Alabama, Najee at North Carolina, you would say Javonte Williams. Because I think Javonte Williams is probably just a little bit better than Najee Harris.
Right.
Just a little bit. Not marginally, like just a tiny bit. I think where he went to school, I think, Alabama players get more hype, right?
Yeah.
They get a little more hype because of where they go and the success and so forth.
Of course,
but you're playing with, in the best conference with the best talent, right? That matters. It matters.
What about scheme for these guys? The three of them, what scheme did they come out of? It seems to me that like guys that are wide zone guys don't do in other schemes, and guys that are in other schemes don't do good like in wide zone schemes. So like obviously Singletary and Moss had trouble to wide zone because they can't really get to the edges, right? And obviously the offensive line. So what do you know? Have you paid attention to, studied at all what scheme these guys have been in?
Well, so they all come from spread offenses. I would say that. So
what are the Bills run? What are the Bills run?
Yeah, a spread offense.
A spread. All right.
So I think
you had me at hello.
Right. Alabama is probably in terms of they're a little bit different because they're more of a power spread and how they diversify their run game and their looks and packages, so forth. I think you have more speed at Clemson, right?
Right.
And then North Carolina is right next to them. So Urban Meyer runs that power spread.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Just like Alabama kind of runs a power spread offense with some similar pro style looks every now and then.
Right.
Depending on who's that quarterback. So all three of these guys though are scheme transcendent, that they can play in any scheme that you put them in because they carry the necessary tool sets to be able to do that. Right. These are guys that all three of them can get to the edge. They have breakaway speed. Now I think Najee is probably third on that list between the three.
Oh wow.
right? I think Javonte Williams has more sudden burst in him. And then Travis Etienne blows the doors off. I mean, that guy gets to 0 to 100 real quick. I mean, it's one step and it's see you later. It's like deuces, right? So all three of those guys are special in their own right. But I would say, so if I had to put them in top three, Etienne, Javonte, and then Najee.
All in the spread offense. Here's my question for you. If you've done the research, and I don't know that you have, this is a question that I threw at you. What scheme did Devin Singletary and Zach Moss run in college? What did they come out of? They come out of spread. They come out of wide zone. They come out of something different. What did they come out of?
So they both. So Zach Moss came out of a zone blocking scheme.
Did he?
And the thing about that Utah offense is what they had. Tackles that can move in space, tall, long arm guys that they can push people around. You know what I'm saying? Right. You're already playing in the Pac-12. How many run defenses are any good in the Pac-12? Not very many. So I think Zach Moss's stats or what we really think of him might be a little skewed, right?
Yeah.
I think they come from a basic zone, and I think you look at Lane Kiffin was offensive, or he was a head coach at Florida Atlantic, right? And they ran more of a that wide zone with Devin Singletary. Now,
go ahead.
Devin Singletary, playing in that conference, I mean, Lord Jesus, like you can run for 50 yards in the game. You know what I'm saying? It just the competition.
I don't know, dude. I'm pretty old.
Dude, I'm fat. I believe in you, bro. I believe in you. Okay, I don't care what they say, what your wife thinks. I think you can do it.
Right? I would just try to I'd be like, girl, I love you. Like I try to soothe them first. Like I'd be like, hey baby, how you doing? Like you don't want to tackle me. You don't want to tackle me. Like, I try to lull them to sleep with hush little baby, don't say. And then I'd run by him. But no, there was a time in my life where I played a lot of sports, but at 47, 220 pounds and a bad left knee, it ain't happening much anymore.
It's rough.
Dude, they told me like 42. When you turn 42, everything starts hurting, and it's like nailed it. Like 42 came, and it was like I'd wake up in the morning and my hamstrings were pulled, and it's like did I run a marathon in my sleep last night? Like what happened?
It hurts me right now, and I'm turning 38 next Saturday. I wake up in pain, baby. I wake up hurting. Hey, doctor just told me I got arthritis in my left knee.
Oh, well, that's pretty normal for being a dude. Like if you played sports, like I've got that too. They're like, well, you got some arthritis developing in your left knee. It's like, well, I played volleyball and I played football and I played baseball and I played softball. I was a beer league softball guy until I was in my 30s. Like then I started playing golf because it was like, and I quit playing softball because it was messing up with my golf swing. But
I ain't trying to hear that, bro. I'm still trying to get to the league, man. I'm still trying to get there, bro. Look, between me and Joe Marino, we're gonna battle it out at right guard for the Bills. I'm just telling you right now, bro. I'm telling you right now.
Okay, moving on. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the wonderful voice of Sterling Furrow from the Cover One Network, who is one of the co-hosts, the host, if you will, of the Hoof and the Hoof Live, and it's an honor and a privilege just to have you on the show. Here's my thing, and I've made a bunch out of it, and there's an aspect too. It's like our guys just can't get to the edge, right? There's something to be said for like getting to the edge, running sweeps, pitch outs, things like that. And and I don't mean to date myself. It wasn't that long ago, but Sturls, I don't necessarily know how much you remember, but like I'm a huge Travis Henry fan. Like, but I don't remember Travis running a lot of sweeps. Like Travis was good for like T Hank was like up the middle 5-6 yards every single time, bang, like crushing skulls. Like, I'm gonna say me. Do I overthink this whole speed to the edge thing? Is it like Raheem Mostert? Is that where it's at? Or like, can we succeed with being more of a tumble downhill for 8 yards, tumble downhill for 6 yards, tumble downhill for 7 yards?
That's boring. Who wants to do that?
It's boring, but I do if it wins.
I mean, but still, I want some more. I want some pizzazz. Don't tell me that your favorite season wasn't when CJ Spiller was just tearing folks up. That was fun.
It was a season. It was one, but what happened? That's a great place to stop. That's a great place to talk about. Chan Gailey found CJ Spiller and found a way to use CJ that made him unstoppable in the NFL. That year he was unstoppable until he got injured. And then like new regime, and they're like, I don't know how to use this kid. It's like, what do you? There's a blueprint. Look back at the film last year. Like, stop being so freaking arrogant. Like, look at it. And then the dude washed out of the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, just gone. It's like Chan figured it out. Why could nobody else? Why is that? Why does CJ? Why did he have that 1 year that was just like incredible? And then there was just nothing left there. It wasn't him. I don't think it was a him issue. It was a scheme issue. Was it not?
So I think CJ Spiller was a master at his craft in terms of a couple things. His speed was
elite,
amazing, but he had great vision and he knew how to set up guys. So you look at Travis Etienne coming from the same school.
Mm-hmm.
He has elite speed. He knows how to set up defenders and take proper angles. CJ Spiller is really good at that. Chan Gailey is a master of getting guys open in space. He knows how to take your skill set and put it in his system. Where there are other coaches out there who just want to mold you into what they want you to be.
Right.
Chan Gailey was like, okay, I'll take, this is what you have. Okay, I'll take it. And this is how I'm going to use you. This is what you do best. This is how I'm going to use you. So that's what he did. And that's why we saw CJ Spiller have one of the best seasons ever. Travis Henry and the NFL back then, the athletes today are bigger, faster, stronger.
Oh, yeah.
Scientifically proven. Back then, it was a little bit different. Every offensive lineman was 315 pounds. I mean, these guys were massive, right? And Travis Henry he had great contact balance.
Very good.
He had a good second gear. He wasn't a burner, but he had a great second gear.
He was almost like Frank Gore before Frank Gore existed, right? Frank Gore had another gear, whereas like Travis Henry was kind of Frank Gore, right? Just a little bit slower.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you make a good point. Like, I want flashy and fast. That's what I want. I think you put that with this offense.
Oh,
Josh Allen's a dog. Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders,
Cole Beasley.
Give me speed. That's the only thing they're missing. I don't care, dude, if you are slow. I don't want that. I don't want slow. I need somebody in this backfield that can bring the milk home, baby. Bring that milk home quick, because the kids got to eat.
The problem is we still then have to come back to the fact, and Bruce brings this up all the time. Bruce Newland brings this up all the time, but we still cannot play man against the Chiefs, which puts us in a soft zone situation against the Chiefs. And if we don't have that guy that can get to the quarterback, that can get to Mahomes, guess what? We're in the same spot. So what do you do? Like you gear up, right? And you're like, I'm gonna try to put 45 on you. Like, is that the world we're about to live in 2021? We're gonna try to put 45 on everybody?
I don't know. I don't think the Bills honestly know. They don't know. I think the draft is going to tell us a lot. I mean, they have to get more speed in the back end. They have to.
I loved the comment that McDermott made about, like, you got to keep your fastball. Like, a defensive-minded head coach knows where his bread is buttered, and his bread is buttered with the number 17 on one side of it. Like, he knows that is the guy. So let's keep that guy motoring and let's keep that guy trucking, which is odd because, like, he's a defensive guy, and defensive guys don't like to have 21 points scored on them ever.
So here's something that we haven't had, though. If you look at McDermott's defenses, we haven't had a true Buffalo nickel. I think if you get a guy that can eliminate tight ends, I don't think you have to worry about speed and manning up, because you have an equalizer, right?
Right.
So if they can get a true Buffalo nickel, Taron Johnson improves, right? And then maybe if you want to dabble with Dane Jackson, gives you a little bit more athletic upside than Levi Wallace and Josh Norman, right? You don't have to. You're not going to be going up against Henry Ruggs on a go route all game every day, right? It's just not going to happen.
Not with Levi.
Yeah, no. See, so I think you have to be able to mitigate tight ends, and that's it. Like, I think the pass rush is okay. It's okay. Ed Oliver, year 3, let's go. Like, I need Ed Oliver to be pick number 9 overall, what he was or whatever. Like, I need you to step up into that.
He's gonna be.
I think he's gonna
build off of 2019, in my opinion.
Yeah, he will.
But what was I gonna say? You talked about Frank. I totally lost my point because you brought up Ed Oliver, but there's an aspect to just Henry Ruggs. What did you say? Dang it, I lost my point. Like, I was like, I didn't want to carry this out too much longer. Like, but oh well, I lost it. Gone. Like, that's what happens when you're old. What did you say right before you said Ed Oliver?
Terry Johnson.
You were talking about offense.
Dude, now you're making me sound old because I don't know. I'm just in the moment, baby. I'm just here. I'm in the moment.
He's on the Overreaction Podcast.
My eyes are here. My eyes are here.
He's in the emotional overreaction mode. Like,
I'm not looking down here. I'm your face, Joe. That's all I care about. The words coming out of your mouth, man.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's hysterical, dude. So let's get back on topic. So we're talking about running backs. Real quick, and about the brief cliff notes as you can give me. When the Bills view Devin Singletary, and this is what Bills Mafia came here for. This is why they're tuned in. What are Devin's strengths over Zach Moss, and vice versa? What are Moss's strengths over Devin Singletary? They're clearly two different guys, although they're both short and they're both a little bit slow, but they're two different players. What is the difference between the two of them, and what do they each uniquely bring to this offense?
So Devin, these both are number 2 backs, by the way.
I agree. RB2s. I agree 100%.
RB2s. Yep. Devin Singletary gives you more vision, and I think he gives you more contact balance and the ability.
He's got that dead leg, dude. He drops that dead leg on people like that Barry Sanders dead leg, and people just like, whoo, and they like miss him.
Right. Put phone booth. That's cut on a dime. He could do that. He could do that. But he's just slow. He's just slow. But sudden quickness, he has sudden quickness.
Right. But
he doesn't get any faster than that. Zach Moss, I think he gives you he's a banger, right? Mm-hmm. He gives you a little bit more there. I don't know as far as what more Zach Moss is going to give you. I just don't know. Honestly, I think they're very similar backs. I think Zach Moss he doesn't have the vision that Singletary has. Right, some of his you go back and watch his tape. Like when I watch it, he missed holes.
Yeah,
he missed some opportunities last year.
Yeah,
so
he cut into some players. Do you know what I mean by cut into some players? It's like you could go right. It was basically T. Richard, like Trent Richard type stuff. Like I can go right and run, or I can go left and get tackled. And he like went left and got tackled.
Yeah. So maybe he improves there. And I think maybe if they go to that pin and pull, I think that'll help them both. But they're RB2s. I don't even think, there's no debate there. But I think the Bills need a real running back threat back there. I want a guy that can do it all.
When we talk about like getting marginally better versus getting like substantially better, like we haven't even begun to talk about like who is going to take the next step. The thing we know about Josh Allen, he took an astronomical, non-human, never before seen step between 2019 and 2020. And then, but he still has room to grow. And then, like, you're gonna see that defense take a step with Starr coming back, right? There's an aspect of like, and this like with Starr coming back, what do we know about the defensive backfield? The defensive backfield was better with Starr on the football field. So even if he's only on there for 45 or 50% of the snaps, they're going to be better for those 50% of the snaps that he's on the field, right? But we haven't even talked about like the growth that potentially sits inside of that offensive line. If these 5 guys can find themselves and the coaching staff can put a scheme together that fits them versus forcing them to play a scheme they can't play, which you can back it up to like, well, they just didn't execute. Well, of course they didn't execute. They can't do it. Like they don't have long arms. They're not mobile. Like those aren't the tackles we have. All that to say this, there's a great deal of opportunity just for that marginal step or that like getting better just inside the guys we have if the coaches maybe change some things. But I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to finish up with this. We're going to wrap up. If the Bills find themselves staring, and you said it a second ago, or I should say about 20 minutes ago, if the Bills find themselves staring at one of the 3 big draft picks, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, ETN, and they draft one at 30, and you and I are like losing our minds, DMing each other because like the Bills just went and got a weapon. You said they're not keeping all 3. They're not keeping all 3 of these guys. Are they working a trade for one of these guys? Who stays? Who goes? Who do the Bills keep?
So, and this is not to be hot takey, but this is just, I'm just throwing it out there. But I think Devin Singletary is probably the one that goes.
Wow, really?
Yep. I think you can get more out of him. You can get more for him. Right.
There's such a division. It's so weird inside of Bills Mafia. All of Bills Mafia likes Devin Singletary. All of Bills Mafia likes Zach Moss, but all of us like one over the other. Right?
Yeah. I like Singletary over Moss. But if you bring me ETN, bye, Devin. Like everything that Devin can do, ETN does better. Right.
You want the RB2 that's opposite, that has strengths where the other guy has weaknesses.
Right. Except for pass blocking. ETN is not a good pass blocker, where Devin Singletary can pass block, but that's not the point.
Right. Gotcha. That's interesting. Very cool. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Overreaction Sports Podcast, brought to you by the Market Dominator on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. I'm sitting here with my host, or my host. Listen to me. I'm sitting here with my guest. Congratulations, Sterling. You're now a part of my show. Come on over, bro.
I can't be the voice, but I could be a little sulky, baby.
Nice. With my guest, Sterling Furrow from the Hoof Podcast. All of a sudden, I can't talk, on the Cover One network. And real quick, do me a favor one more time. We're going to wrap this thing up real quick. What are your predictions for the Buffalo Bills 2021? And don't give me like I'm a Bills fan and I'm really, really excited. Just real quick, what do you see this season shaking out for the Bills?
I think they're going to go, let's see, they're going to win 12 games on the season. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to get to the AFC Championship again. And that's about as far as I can tell you. I really can't, I don't know if we're going to do enough to be able to supplant the Chiefs. I don't see the Chiefs have gotten better, though. Do you see that? I mean, Sammy's not necessarily coming back, right? That's not guaranteed. Both their tackles are gone. Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes he's better than Josh Allen, and that's okay. Josh Allen's still a top 5 quarterback.
Agreed. That doesn't hurt my feelings.
Patrick Mahomes is on another level.
Yeah, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. We talked about that in the Chiefs, right?
That's right.
So I would agree with you. I think the Bills, I think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think the Bills probably have the shoe in. I think it's going to be a tougher road this year. I think the Dolphins are going to be better. The Patriots are putting together a team. It's like Bill Belichick is sitting there like in New England going, if I'm going to put together an offense that nobody wants to play against, who's that going to be? Well, I'm going to go get 2 crazy big tight ends, and I'm going to have Cam Newton running the ball forward in Urban Meyer style. Like, literally, that's what he did. And, like, no defense is going to want to play these guys. They're going to be like, this sucked. Like, we beat them, but barely. Or they beat us because we couldn't stop them because we didn't have an answer for 2 giant tight ends and the biggest quarterback in the NFL, the most athletic quarterback in the NFL that can't throw a football. Sorry. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm with you on that. But man, this was just awesome. Like, thank you for being a part of the, thank you for jumping in and doing this with me.
Anytime, man. You know I love you, bro. You already know I love you. It's much love. I love your fans. I love your voice. It's a bromance over here. So I will be on anytime you want. Anytime, man.
Well, the off season for me is time to have guests on. So you might be back a time or two. Because I like to ask hard questions. That's what I do with FINA. I try to ask questions that like the mafia doesn't necessarily understand or maybe have answers to. And you did a very, very, very good job of just kind of bringing some clarity to some of that stuff. So do me a favor, before I cut you loose, before I cut everybody loose, one more time, who you are, handle, Twitter stuff, where we can find you, when you're on, how like everybody listening can find you.
Yeah, Furrow Sterling, aka Sterls for the girls, as the fans like to say.
That ain't the fans. That's Joe Miller and Spence. Joe Miller and Spence call you Sterls for the girls.
Yeah, for sure. But you can find me at Cover One. I'm part of the Hoof Podcast. You know, our podcast drops. Well, we have a live show on Tuesday. Podcast drops on Friday.
That's awesome.
So that's where you can find me all day, every day.
All day, every day. And ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joe Miller. I am the voice of the Overreaction Sports Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. And it was just great to have you guys with us. For myself, Joe Miller, for Sterling Furrow. Thanks for being here. Give me a go Bills, Sterling.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. We'll talk to you guys next time.